First of all, Harry, after Wednesday's result, no one likes to lose matches, but in some ways is there a relief you can now look forward, look ahead to the rest of the season, knowing that you haven't got these distractions, midweek matches and so on?
Not really, Roger. I mean, as you say, no one wants to lose football matches, so I was just as low having got beat on Wednesdays as I am when we get beat on a Saturday. So in the Premier League, so it was disappointing, but we changed the team around as we have done with all the games, but we just started badly and it's out the way, and we've just got to move on now. We're in great form in the league, 9 wins out of 10 and 1 draw, so we're very positive about the way we're playing. We just really got to push on now and see if we can mount a real challenge in the Premier League to try to get in that Champions League again. That's the most important thing.
How's the squad looking for this weekend? Obviously, Man Devine last week.
Okay. Yeah, Rafa's trained yesterday and he looked fine. So, we're not too bad. Sandro's got a little bit of a problem. He played last week. He's got a bit of, his groin is still, we really can't sort of get him a run of games at the moment. He keeps having little niggles, and he's the only one really that is struggling out the short-term ones. Obviously, we've got some long-term injuries still, but he's the only one out of the lads who have been playing. In
terms of Rafi, say back training yesterday, will he play this weekend?
Well, he's available. Jermaine's in good form. Scored a great goal last week as well. So I'm very lucky. They're both outstanding players. So I've got to it's going to be a tough call between them two.
And last week we were asking you about Jermaine. You were saying he'd been unlucky because of the form referee. He's come in, he's got his goal, he scored the goals in the reserve game. So how much of a dilemma is it, bearing in mind that Rafa has been the preferred choice for most of the time?
Well, it is a difficult decision. They're both, as I say, both outstanding players, and neither of them deserve to be left out of the team. In all honesty, they've both been in great form, so it's going to be a difficult decision. But we'll look at Rafa and see how his injury is, and see how he's had these niggles with a hamstring. We really need him to be completely over that hamstring problem, because he's such an important player for us. To risk him if he's not quite sure he can last a game would be a gamble. So we'll have a little look this morning.
It's Bolton this weekend, obviously former club of Gary Speed. Are you aware of any special plans to mark his passing at the game this weekend?
Well, there'll be a minute's silence I think we're having before the game, or a minute's applause, or whatever the club decide to do. So, as you say, Gary played for Bolton as well with great distinction, as he did with every club he played for. So it'll be a bit of a special occasion.
Can the emotion of the occasion affect the game, do you think, positively or negatively for Bolton, do you think?
I don't know, really. It's difficult. Some of the lads would have played with him, people like Kevin Davis would have been there with Gary, and a few of the other lads, so they'll know him very well, and I'm sure it's been a difficult week for them, as it has with everybody, really, in football who knew him. So, but, I'm sure once the game starts, they'll want to do well, and for Gary and for everybody, but it's business as usual once the whistle goes.
Bolton, a different team now. You look at the position they find themselves in, only 3 wins this season. They always used to be seen as like a very tricky match, but are they perhaps less tough a side as they have been?
No, I don't think so. I still think they're a tough side to play against, and they've been a little bit unlucky this year. They've had a few injuries as well. But, they've got an outstanding young manager, and they've got some good players. I think, they showed that against Stoke just a couple of weeks back. Nobody has an easy game with Stoke, and they had a fantastic win against them. So we know it'll be tough. We never get an easy game with Bolton.
Well, I can ask you a couple of other issues, and obviously this time of the year we'll start talking about players coming in, players going, and so on. A couple of names you've been linked with the last few days, a couple of Chelsea players, Drogba and Anelka. A couple of people that perhaps you've looked at all? Or
I've looked at them 1,000 times in the last 10 years, but no, never made no inquiries for their 2 top players, but I couldn't say we've ever inquired after the 2 lads. They belong to Chelsea anyway. They're both in Chelsea's plans, I'm sure.
I think with Drogba turning down a contract and so on, I know that he was linked last year with you, and perhaps end of the season he's looking for one last move.
Well, he's a top player. I think he's a fantastic player. So, who knows? You know, I wouldn't want to sit and say no. It's never gonna. You know, I couldn't say we're not. You wouldn't be interested. Anybody would be interested in having Didier Drogba in their team, but we haven't made any inquiries whatsoever.
In terms of players going out, obviously the Euros coming up, lots of players want to play for their countries. I've seen the name Pedro and Luka linked with Rome. Or would you be, you know, conscious of the fact that there are players who want to?
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be difficult now. You know, the lads will want to play, and say with the Euros coming up, they're going to want to make sure they're getting football to get into the championships. But you know, we've got to make sure that we protect our own situation first and foremost. That's our main concern. We've got to make sure we've got a strong squad to carry us into the second half of the season again and continue the great form we've been in. So I certainly wouldn't want to be just, they've got selling people or letting people go because it suits them. We've got to do first and foremost what suits Tottenham.
Still in the area of transfers, some figures came out yesterday about the amount of money that Premier League clubs have given to agents in agent fees for transfers, and the Spurs were quite high up. But just in general, do you think it's almost a necessary evil if you want to facilitate transfers? That this is something that's got to happen. Do you think that we could find ways of perhaps doing transfers where so much money doesn't have to be?
You'd like to think so, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't get involved in that side of it. I don't go into meetings with the chairman deals with that, but. So I don't know what kind of percentage they take now, agents or anything else. But whatever it is, it's probably too much going out the game. You know, there's an awful lot that could be used inside the game.